The other thing that it helped me with is just being aware of, like, it just solidified the concept in my mind that everything is love. It's just love that has been diminished. So when we're angry, when we're upset, that's just lacking of love.
Mm-hmm.
We could actually look at anger and go, oh, well, that's a twisted form of love. We can look at all sorts of, it reminded me of when I realized that my mom, in my out-of-body experience, like, that she wasn't aware of that type of love, and the way she loved was through a filter of religion. And so it just solidified not just that awareness I had at that time of what that was, the awareness that love existed, but it just made me gave me an actual physical experience of it. That's what that dog did for me. I mean, it was so big for my, it just opened, I don't know what it did, but it did something. And it was awesome. I cannot tell you how powerful, how grateful I am, and how at peace at this point that I served a purpose for her and she has served one for me. I didn't realize it until after she passed away. That dog served a purpose. She came here and did something amazing for me. But it didn't happen until the day after she died.
Aww.
I know. So I have a hard time feeling sorry for myself because it's like, oh my God, the lessons that these relationships teach us, whether it's teaching us forgiveness, grace, teaching us, again, expanding awareness around ourselves and how we relate to people. And in this case, that dog was one of the most powerful, and I will, from this moment forward, say she's probably going to be the most influential experience of love that I will carry forward, at least in like the work I do.
Aww.
Yeah, I know. It sounds so ridiculous because it's coming from a dog, but nonetheless, it's the same essence of love that we have for each other.
Oh,
From human to human.
I have 2 cats, and
Yeah. What's funny too is I wasn't aware of it, even though I knew, oh, this girl loves me. What you don't know is she was in this room with me, at least for the past 9 months, every session, she was right next to me.
Aww.
Like she wouldn't leave my side. Yeah, amazing. Anyways, okay, so tell me how you're doing.
How am I doing? Well, there continues to be positive things just in my interactions with people. I continue to make strides with the ex, just letting go of him, and which is a huge miracle. I mean, 17 years is, I'm just checking up on him less and less, and, I have this kind of awareness of when I checked up on him last and looked at his picture, and it didn't feel so traumatic. Mm-hmm. Like, my heart, wasn't pounding. Like, I literally would get, trauma when I would look at him.
Yeah.
And I just looked at him, and I just sort of felt love for him. Like, I love this person, but I don't want to deal with him, and I don't want him in my life, and she can deal with him now. And it was just pretty amazing. I never, ever, ever thought that was even possible. So that's...
Do you think that made
happy.
Yeah? Does it make you realize that the decision you've made and that him and you have made to be separate is the right decision? Like, this relationship served its purpose.
Yeah.
There's no reason to keep on trying to serve something that's been purposed, right?
Yeah, and it's just. So it's pretty sort of interesting. I'm just sort of like, I'm just sort of like, wow, I'm kind of actually free. And he's just hijacked my brain for 17 years. And so that's one thing that's out of my brain now.
If he came back to you and was like, I've changed, let's get back together, what would you do?
Oh, God. Well, I wouldn't get back together. That's why his number's blocked. I don't don't know. I mean, I'm sure he could dabble. I'm sure I would. I don't know if I would be completely. I don't know. I couldn't be tempted to go back to him. I would absolutely not be tempted to go back to him.
See what happens as you start really thinking about it? As you really start thinking about it, what happens? You get a sense like, oh, well, I might have an impulse of like, oh, but then I'd go, no, it's okay. We're done. I did it.
Yeah.
It served its purpose.
I felt that, even in person, I mean, he's still, I have like attachment and emotion and stuff, but I mean, I definitely stared at him in person and was just like, oh my God, I kind of had to, I'd sort of checked out, so that felt good, but then there was still just like torture about the new girl and all this kind of stuff, and now it just kind of, I just feel some detachment when I look at him now, which is nice, and I don't feel like I hate him either, which is nice.
That is good. That's a good thing.
I just sort of felt like, nope, it's just not good for me, and you're too much, dude. I can't deal with you. He's like,
So that's reality. What you're connecting with is not the fantasy when you see him. You're connecting with the reality of what it is. That's huge. Yeah, that's the same thing with thinnerness. You have to be able to go, well, the thinnerness, that's a fantasy. I don't want it.
Yeah.
Do you see the parallels in this breakup with him and the breakup with thinnerness that you were making? Well, it's actually the fantasy of thinnerness that you're breaking up with. It's just like, I don't want it. It comes with drama. It comes with heartache, mental illness.
Stuff like that. I sort of just looked at it like, I'm doing all this inner work, and it just doesn't fit into the new scenario of, kindness, and it just doesn't fit into my life. But I had to really put those things together, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just as the reality is that this isn't the fantasy that I wanted doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I was chasing a fantasy, but living in reality, living a nightmare. Thinking that I can work harder, which makes the nightmare worse. Thinking at some point you're going to hit this fantasy.
Yeah.
And then when you realize this is the way it is, if the fantasy isn't going to happen, nothing will ever change. All of a sudden you look at the reality of the relationship and you question, would I want this type of relationship today? Would I accept this type of relationship? Would I accept this from anybody new if I was dating again? The answer is no.
Mm-mm.
So then you realize, well, this isn't gonna work. So I have to break up with the fantasy.
Yeah.
That's where the pain exists. It's not in him, because the reality of him sucked. It's the fantasy. Of course, there's moments of just being with someone and the sentiment of the partnership.
Yeah.
But it's in general, you could say emotionally, it was horrible. Not worth it.
It was. Yeah, it wasn't worth it.
Yeah, and then what you did get out of it, you could get that out of with anybody. So it's not like he is the one that holds the keys to sex. He's not the one that holds the key to having someone around, going to the movies. You can do those things with everybody, but ultimately the fantasy that you thought he was going to help create, it doesn't exist.
Mm-mm.
This person, what exists is dysfunction. So again, you need to see this parallel in the almost completely identical approach to being thinner. That the thinnerness, what you thought you'd get out of a thinner body is a fantasy. You wanted the fantasy. You thought the thinnerness would bring that fantasy to you.
Yeah.
But in reality, it requires you have very toxic, very destructive relationship with dieting, restricting, and binging as a consequence.
Yeah.
And in constant threat to your thinness, which means it's a never-ending mirage of chasing something that doesn't exist, right? Very similar. And when you realize, okay, there is no possibility of getting to that thinness without suffering. So the fantasy doesn't exist. Similar to there's no way to hit the fantasy with him without suffering. So the fantasy I want doesn't necessarily exist because it requires all this suffering. Yeah. Similar to the dieting suffering, the binging and the dieting, binging. It just never really pans out. And you end up just putting your whole life on pause. which pressurizes your, the time constraints and the perfectionism around reaching these fantasies in your life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. There's that. That's an interesting parallel. I like that. And then I guess, there's other things, but I don't know. I guess the bottom line is that, I listened to our last session, and, I couldn't help but notice, the first half was great. It was kind of the great progress in situations. And then then we, started getting down to it again, and I just noticed that, I was just doing a lot of dodging and weaving. You just kind of kept talking about acceptance, and I just kind of kept hearing myself, yeah, just kind of the same. And you were about the cool and sexy and wanting to be cool and sexy and all that. And you just were yeah, this is exactly where, your recovery kind of comes to a standstill. Yeah. And I kind of, been thinking about that. And then you posted that thing about the ego. And I just, sorry, I just,
okay.
It just really hit me hard that I just feel like it's my ego.
Yeah.
I just feel like I just keep having this vision of myself, I did all this work and I made it, I'm in this white hallway and there's this last door that's to open, I'm not free yet. I guess that's what I'm very well aware that I'm not free, that I'm not recovered. I'm, huge progress, way less anxiety about food and eating, just all this great progress, but I know there's more and I know I haven't reached it yet. And it's I just feel I just wanted that my ego is guarding that door. My ego is guarding that door. I'm just aware, I'm oh, kumbaya, I'm making all these changes. It's so great. Good for me. Look how, this is so awesome. I'm so happy. And then I'll just hear this voice come in. Oh, how cute. You think you can fucking recover? You're having fun with your little pretend recovery because you don't have the ideal body. So you're nothing. And this is a joke. You'll never get out of it.
Yeah.
And I just get this shudder goes through my body. It's so mean and intimidating, and I don't know. So I've just been kind of observing it, not getting too freaked out about it. I'm just sort of, I just feel like I'm just being taunted. I've been Googling how to get rid of your ego.
Well, you can't, because that's the, what ego is the animal part of your brain that says you can't survive without me. And so,
I know that I need it for certain things.
But you don't.
Yeah, it thrives on approval. It needs power. It's just, I can, I've been a little bit improving on, my physicality and the heaviness in the ankle. I've been feeling that okay, I can do this. This is fine. This isn't but then I'll just look down and see my chubby tummy, and I'll just be but you don't have the ideal body. That's all it comes down. You don't have the ideal body, so you're fucking nothing. And I'll just go, come on, It's just, anyway, that's just.
Okay,
I haven't even wanted to call you. I've just been I don't even want to bother her. I'm so sick of myself. And what else can she say to me? Oh, is it worth your freedom? Yeah, I want to be, I don't even know. And I guess normally I'll try to, almost feel I want to go into these talks with some sense of control. I know what we're going to talk about, and I know what I'm going to get out of this, and I know what I'm going to say. And this time I'm I literally don't fucking know. All I know is that I'm fucked right now. I don't know. So I'm just calling you, I guess. I should talk to you.
Oh man. So let's go into what ego is. Let's start there. The ego is the clutchingness. It's very self-preserving. It is the aspect of our human evolution that is there, that is wired to be there when we are afraid to die. It is a mechanism to remove the fear of death. Okay? So behind that ego that's talking to you is, if you don't do this, you're going to die. Your life is worthless, which is essentially death. Okay? Can you see why people have it? Is this something to be ashamed of?
No.
I know. So, however, it doesn't, you can become affected by it. It's always going to be there, but it doesn't have to be powerful or controlling, right? You can laugh at it and go, oh, there's the animal. You know, there's the narcissistic core of the ego, which is how that part of the brain has wired us to run away from fear of death, really what it comes down to. And so what you've linked life to is thinness.
Yeah.
Right? And so if you accept this, the core of the ego, or that narcissistic core of the ego, is going to say you're going to die. Your life is worthless. Life is worthless. Right? And the problem comes about because you believe that. So what you're going to need to do is actually open yourself up to questioning, is the life that this body is giving me worthless if the body I'm in is imperfect?
Which I believe.
Well, you need to make it permanent. So you might think in your mind, for now, but truthfully, if I'm not thinner, it is worthless, right? You have to go into the permanence of it. So that, I think, if I'm going to make a guess right here, that's where the limit is it's not permanent to you. So, and again, I know we've been here before, but you have to go into the permanence of it. So what happens when you go into permanence? I bet you anything that's when that shoots up. That, like what you had just said, when you get to the point of permanence, that's when that voice comes in and says, you're such a piece of shit loser. You're quitting.
Yeah, or it's just almost like mocking of all this hard work I've done and how it's just...
Okay, hold on.
Mocking
the hard work you've done, or mocking you for quitting? Which one? I just want to be... I don't know. I just want to have clarity around that.
I don't know, just mocking me for thinking I can really be free, thinking that this will work, that I can actually be happy being fat and not being, so connected to being attractive and...
Yeah,
or
well...
just that I can actually, you can't, that's so part of you, you'll never be able to give that up. Just quit kidding yourself.
Oh, so what... Okay, what I just heard is your identity is to be thinner. That's who you are. That's what I just heard. I know you didn't say that, but that's what I heard.
Or just to be thinner, to just be acceptable, and then...
Okay, I need you to pause. Come back to what I just said. Right. You, in your mind, have an image of who you are, okay?
Yeah. You
have created an identity, a role, a persona, and that persona is thin.
Well, I don't know if she's thin, but she's thinner than this.
No, she's thin. The reason I know that is because even when you're thinner, it's still not good enough. So I know it's thin. Okay, your logic would accept thinner. But the identity that you attached your identity to is thin. You'll never be happy unless you're actually thin. Because that's what you're clutching on to in terms of how you identify yourself. Right? I want you to think of what an identity is.
Well, it's just everything that comes with being thin too. Just that I would be
Well, of course, that's the
okay in the eyes of others. I would be.
Well, that's the
like, I'm so
symbolism.
beyond that. Like, I don't care about others. I don't. It's just. Like,
I know, but it's not about others at this point. It's about you caring about yourself.
Yeah.
Right, and that's why it gets so terrible, because it's not. If this was someone else holding you to it, this would be so easy to get out of. But it's not. It's you. Right? Because if someone else was holding you to this, you'd be like, "Fuck you." That's wrong. I'm out. It would be super quick and easy, but it's not someone else holding you to it. It's yourself. So I really want you to go with me here step by step. There is a concept of yourself. It's called an identity. That exists, and you are thin in that concept. And what that really, the concept of it is, and you hit the nail on the head, it's actually the symbolism of that. That's what I want. You could say when I connect with me, which is your concept of me, it's conceptualized. Okay? What you see in your head is a superior Chrissy. Superior. If you can feel it. And it's this, because that's what you want to personify with the people around you. I am special. And so there is a direct connection to specialness with the thinner body. A thin body. And so the reason why this feels so gross to you is because it doesn't feel like yourself. It doesn't feel like...
Yes, it's true.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Good. Just connect with it, observe it, and witness it.
It doesn't feel like myself. It feels very foreign.
The reason isn't because it's just a body. It's only foreign to the idea that you've conceptualized. It's a conceptualized idea of who you are that believes this body is foreign. I don't want to be a part of it. It's disgusting. Who would want that? This is a fucking joke. That conversation comes from the concept. Right? So how do you get rid of that concept? That you are the special, you are specialness, right? You are this grandeur, you're this inflated pride. All that are feelings, right? Those are feelings that you have attached to thinness. You are inflated pride. You are special. You are standing out of the crowd in your special way. Those are you identify who you are as superior. There's a sense of superiority in this identity. That's why it is so destructive and abusive about you being inferior. That's where that inferiority feeling actually comes from. You wouldn't feel inferior if you didn't hold your identity, if you didn't create a concept in your mind of who you are that had to be thin to access superiority, right? And so the way you would release yourself from this brainwashing of a concept of who you are, because it is a brainwashed concept. You didn't create this concept of who you are. You didn't. It's not your concept.
It's not?
No, you didn't create thin supremacy.
Oh, yeah.
It's not yours. You didn't decide, or you decided that it was true for you and you wanted it. But this isn't your construct. You didn't construct this.
Well, I feel like I've come, like, I've definitely, I've sort of parted with the fact, I've been grieving that I'm not special. Let's put it to you that way.
Okay, so
I feel like, so it's almost like I'm okay with not being superior, but I'm not okay with being inferior.
Okay, so you have to look at what is inferiority and where does it come from? How does someone come to the conclusion of inferior? What has to exist for a inferiorness to be judged and to be critiqued. As in, for something to be critiqued as inferior, what has to be in place?
You have to be comparing it to something
That is what?
superior.
Correct. So I need you to recognize the only way it is possible for you to even believe in inferiority, to actually believe inferiority exists, is that you believe there is an existence of superiority. So don't you agree? Isn't it all relative? And let's look at this idea of superiority. What if superiority comes with extreme mental illness and depression and obsessive compulsiveness and misery and self-righteousness, disconnection, judgmentalism, criticalism? I mean, honestly, what if, just think of narcissism. So really superior if it's attached to all of that?
No, I mean, I know that.
No, you don't. So stop going there. That's something that's affecting you negatively in this process. Is you keep on saying I know, but your reality is that you're not intellectually, what you know intellectually is not coming into play here. It doesn't work. So your actual belief systems, whether you're intellectually aware of them or not, are that you believe in superior people.
Yeah, I don't know shit.
Well, you're emotionally, we do know this. You believe in the concept of superior people. So therefore, you are now held to fear of inferiority because you believe and actually promote superior people. There are superior people. So do you see how that's black and white? There is no gray. There's no curvilineity. There's no relation in that. There's no context, right? Because when you add context, would you say, based on the truth of what you've learned, is being thinner and what it takes in reality attached to being superior? Is it really superior? Is it really a superior way of living? Is this something you would promote?
No.
Okay, I'm going to ask again, and I want you to feel it. Is this thinness promoted as superior in reality? Is this really something that is worthy of worship and wanting and yearning for? Because in reality, hasn't it just been the most destructive thing in your life?
Yes. Because my mind just goes to the people that don't have all the crazy attachment to being thin. They're just...
Yeah, they probably don't think they're superior because of it.
Yeah.
They're to them, it's like they're not attaching their identity to that thinness. And if they do, they're hiding their problems from people. Okay.
I could almost consider them superior, just the fact that they don't think they're superior.
Yeah, you could say they're just not suffering.
Yeah.
You know, at some point, they might be suffering with something different. Who knows? Again, context.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of learning, and understanding. And for example, I am on a learning curve myself. What's the difference between my learning curve and your learning curve?
I don't know.
Nothing. There is no difference. Other than I just learned this 20 years ago, but I had to learn it. So I learned it the same way you're learning it. Took the same degree of suffering, took the same amount of intensity, took the same amount of hell and darkness. Yeah, right? I had to learn it. You're learning it the same way I did.
Yeah, I just wish I could, whatever.
So is that really superior? I mean, so this concept of superiority, you have to really, really look at. And let's just say, okay, there are people who are inherently superior. Does that mean there's something that you're worthless?
Oh, I know that.
No, Casey, that didn't sound like an answer. That came from your intelligence. No, because you really believe you're worthless. Go in. This is important for you in this work that we're doing together. I need you to speak from the dysfunction. Don't speak from your logic anymore.
Okay.
I need you to speak from the dysfunction. That's what we have to work on. You cannot expect to make any progress thinking outside of that dysfunction. We have to use and talk with the dysfunction in there. With the demon, if you want to call it. I don't care what you call it. We have to work with that.
Yeah. Well, the dysfunction is like, it's just bummed out that I'm, I'm realizing that it's just, I'm still grieving that I'm not special. I'm still.
Yep. And so let's go into what that is. So I understand that, right? I get that.
I literally, I was listening to another client you were talking to, and she had, she had binged, and then you kind of were tracing it back that she was feeling sorry for herself, and you had this conversation with her that was almost exactly like you had with me, and it was just again, it was just cold water on my face that that I have, and I've heard you say it to another client as well. You're not. This is what I see all the time with everybody. These are symptoms that you all share. It was even. I don't know. It was really almost. It was. I was almost. I was basically even cried like a baby because I was wow. I'm literally. There's nothing. Who am I even if I'm not all these things? There's just.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It was just weird. It was just. I was almost. I felt like. It was obviously I was being a baby, but I was just shocked. I just let myself go with those feelings instead of trying to talk myself out of it, and I just literally cried for 5 minutes after listening to the session, realizing I'm not. That there's nothing special about this. These are just symptoms of my sickness.
Well, it's symptoms of your belief system.
Yeah.
So it's your belief system that these symptoms are a part of. Is it really superior? Is it really superior if it comes with all these symptoms? Is this something we should be wanting? Would you want to believe this in your next life? Seriously, is it really something you should be promoting as superior? Is this really superior?
Is this superior?
Yeah, this is what you get for worshiping thinness as superior. Your belief that thinnerness is superior. How's it working out for you? Is it really superior if you were to tell the truth? You were to be honest. Is it actually superior?
No.
How would you describe it? In truth, what is it?
It feels like total shit.
Yeah, it's hell. It's horrible. It's a horror story. It's a horrible, horrible hell. It's very, very demonic. It's not even you wouldn't even wish this on your worst enemies. It's horrible.
And I try to tell myself, what's wrong with you? You're doing so great, and your life is doing better, and
you're convincing you're trying to convince yourself. That doesn't work.
I'm trying to convince myself.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
And I'm where's all this inner? Am I just making all of this stuff up? Where's all this? It just feels unreal and bizarre. Why am I walking around tortured because I have an ego? It's just, I guess, I can't even believe this is happening. I hope hope it works out.
Well, You actually said something just a little bit ago that brings me to realize you're close, because the question of who am I then, if I get rid of all of this, if I'm not that, what am I? Then who am I really? That's where I was headed. That's where we need to go in this conversation. Because your identity that you've created, using concepts that are not even yours, okay? Thin supremacy is not something you created. It's something that you believed in based on someone telling you, if you're thin, you're superior. If you're thin, people will like you. Well, do you really want people to like you because of thinness? Do you want thinness to be between you and people liking you? Do you want the body and its thinness to be why people like you? Do you want thinness to be why people like you?
No.
Why?
No.
Why?
Because it's shallow and...
That's a judgment. Let's just go into the reality of how this has impacted you.
Because I'll have to stay thin so they'll still like me.
Because it's a life of misery.
Yeah.
Just go there. Don't judge the shallowness. Just look at what's happened to you. Because it is torture. It's horrible. It requires that I constantly live in shame and fear and angst and feeling pathetic and a loser and constantly believing just arbitrarily that people think I suck. That's the truth. Do you want thinness to be why people like you? Do you want? Okay, listen to each word. Do you want? That's a yearning to be thin so that people will like you. Do you really want to grasp onto thinness as how you get people to like you?
I mean, no.
Because...
No. Well, that's not who I am, so they wouldn't be really liking me for me.
You got it.
I'm not just fat or skinny.
Yeah, they're not even liking you. And so what that does is if you accept the being liked because you're thin or thinner, if you accept the liking because of your thinness, guess what you now have to do?
Stay thin.
Yep. And if you don't stay thin, you get to hide. You get to hide because no one will like you. So your whole life now is focused on making sure that you're thin so that people will like you. They don't even like you. You're not presenting you. You're presenting a thin idea of what you want people to like. So you've been lying to everybody. Right? Not just with this thin ideology, but with other personas that you've presented that are not true or real. They're ideas of what you like that you think other people will like too. Ideas of what you like that you think other people will like too. It's not the real you. That's why I said, if you take all that away, all of the facade that you're using so that you can convince people to like you. First of all, that makes you their slave. You have to know what they like, and you have to become that for them to like you. Okay? But if you get rid of all that, the question does exist. Well, then who am I? And what do I like? And who am I? And am I actually a likable, truthful person? In truth, if I were to be truthful to myself, who am I? Well, then if I present whatever that is, what if people don't like that? What if people don't like the truth of who you really are? Do you really want? Or do you want them?
What if they like me, or what if they actually like me, but then when they see me really fat, they like second guess if they should actually like me?
Either way, all of it is they don't really like you. Because if they second guess because you're fat, they don't really like you.
Yeah.
Okay, so that didn't quite work. That doesn't work together, what you just said.
Okay.
Okay. I just don't think you really know who you really are anyways.
I don't think I do either. I think
Yeah.
that's why I'm just...
Well, that's okay. Everybody starts here. It's not just you. Once again, everybody starts with, I feel like a child inside. I haven't developed this since I left it.
An empty vessel. I feel like I'm walking around like an empty, lonely vessel.
Okay, well, you are. I hate to break it to you. It's not an idea. You are an empty, lonely vessel because you created a facade that you think you are. I was an empty, lonely vessel too. It was super frail. My sense of self, the actual truth of self, was so frail. It was almost dead. I was almost dead. It was almost at the point of non-existence. Okay. No wonder I was on the verge of blowing my brains up, right? Because there was no existence. There was nothing. Right? And so all I had was concepts of Robin. Robin as this religion, which was everything. Robin as the athlete. Robin with the hottest body. That's all I had that's all I had in terms of getting bearings around my identity. So if I'm not thin anymore, if I have failed that religion and God hates me, well, then who am I? And what is life really worth, right? And so I had to really go into that space of worthlessness to ask if it was worth being here. If I'm worthless to everybody. Okay, so keep in mind, that means everybody feels worthless about me. Do I, within myself, believe that this existence, this tiny little frail piece of existence that is on the verge of total collapse, do I think that that's worthless? Is it really worthless to me? Getting rid of all that bullshit. Right? At the time I didn't think it was bullshit. I thought it was truth. Okay? Do I believe what exists in this is worthless? Because if it is worthless, then God is worthless because he created it. That's where I went. So if I truly believe in a God or a creator, well, then if I am actually worthless, why second guess what God created as worthless? That means that it's good enough for God, right?
Yeah.
So if it's not good enough for me, doesn't that make me God, better than God? So if it is in fact worthless for me, it was good enough for God, which means that I'm free to be what that is. I don't have to lie about it anymore. And if everybody around me, to include my mom, to include the dogs, to everything, okay, they all think I'm worthless, well, that means that they think they're God. Do I really want to care about people's opinions who think they're God? They didn't create me. Their concept of God didn't necessarily create me. You know, you have to go into these positions. You have to go into them. You have to feel it. You know, the only reason you would go into this conversation is if you are willfully accepting the body you're in permanently as flawed. Okay, that you haven't been able to go down into this space that I'm taking you because you've not accepted it permanently yet. Because if it's permanent, then you got to think about these things, don't you?
Yeah, every morning I went and I totally got that willfully. That was, a big awareness I got. Like, oh, I get it. Like, I can't just be like, okay, I'll accept this body. I'm going to do it. It just hit me. It was like, no, you have to cheerfully and willfully swing open your arms and choose your heavy body with your fucked up ankle. Like,
because it's actually gives you freedom then. You're free.
Yeah. I mean, so I wake up in the morning and I would just start saying it out loud. I willfully choose it. Like, I was just like...
That's convincing.
Like,
you're trying to convince yourself. That's not real.
Yes. I just just don't know what else to do other than what I'm doing, and I...
Yeah. Well, let's go into the permanence. So that's where I would take you next.
Keep going.
You need to go into the permanence of this. Permanence. You're going into denial there for some reason. You're not looking at it. It's too painful to you, right? It's too painful to that ego, isn't it? Because the ego in there, the survival, the narcissistic core of survival, which is very self-preserving, says that you will be nothing. Nothing without a thinner body. You are nothing. So go into that. Don't try to escape that feeling. Let it in. Feels like you're nothing, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, it just feels like all this work is for nothing. So I feel like
all this work is for nothing.
The part of me, is still holding on to. Oh, my body's going to correct itself down the road. Just leave it alone.
It's not. See, that's hope. You're still holding out hope. It's not.
I guess. I'm taking this trip and just booking this trip to Italy in September with my friend. Like, okay, how many months? I wonder if my body will correct itself and just lose maybe 10 pounds so I can walk around easier around Italy. Like,
don't. It's not. It's not going to be. So, do you see how you're still not facing truth? You're still looking at the fantasy. You're not looking at the truth. That's like saying, someday he'll change. Oh, you know what? When this happens, he'll be different.
Yeah, no, I know. I've been doing that, and that's not...
Okay, you're doing the same thing with this process. So it's keeping you stuck, right? So I want you to look at this now permanently. Let's do it together. I'm trying to guide you through this. You keep on, exiting. You keep on trying to leave. I know, but I gotta do this. No, stay with me. Just let me guide you here.
Okay, I'm just gonna shut up. I'm so sick of my own voice.
Well, you keep on distracting yourself with these random thoughts that, that really have no meaning in the conversation, except that, now, let me rephrase that. Because they have meaning to you.
Please do.
They have meaning to you, but I'm trying to guide you, and you keep on going back to how shitty your life is and how hard this is. And I'm like, well, if you just let me take you somewhere, we'd get out of there. It's like, follow what I'm telling you to do. You're going to be this fat permanently. Stop trying to escape it. It's not going to get better, Chrissy. It's not. And the more you feel like this, what's happening to your body?
Oh, it's going to get bigger.
Yeah. So get over the fact that you're not going to be thinner. You can't afford to even hope. You can't even afford to hope, because that is just lying to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. In fact, you've been lying to yourself your whole goddamn life.
Yeah.
At least since the narcissism kicked in, which was probably around 7. I don't know what age it happened. Doesn't matter. But you've been lying to yourself about reality for a long time. When do you just look at the truth? Look at the truth. You're never going to be thinner than this. It's a permanent thing. Especially if you keep on thinking the way you do. There's no way for you it's not going to get better. So now go into what happens next. So let's go there. Look at the truth. Do you see it? Is it apparent to you?
That I'm going to be this fat forever?
Forever. When you go on this trip, it's never going to get better than this.
I feel like this is a trick question that I'm supposed to agree to and accept, and then I really do end up, my body will end up fixing itself, and I will lose weight.
No.
It's just like a little trick in the game.
It's not. It's not permanent, because if you hope on that, if you even put an ounce of hope on that, are you going to get freedom from this?
No.
Mm-mm. You're not. So do you really want to gamble? You really want to gamble with odds that are really minuscule to non-existent? What's the
I just feel like the only way I'm going to ever get a thinner body is if I accept that I'll never have one.
That's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
And I don't even I just want not even to look better.
It's not going to get better than this. It's like permanent. It's really not. You cannot even rely on that 1% or 2%. You can't rely on that because it's not a guarantee. The body is what it's going to be. What is it actually in truth? And what is the truth, right? If the body is the essence of the body is the only thing that knows what the truth of this body is. Currently, it's where it's at. So if you even hold out hope, that means you have to hold on to the thought of it. That means you have to hold on to this constant concept that there's something wrong with your body and it has to get fixed permanently.
Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely a hurdle, or this is definitely a hot spot.
Go there. Go there. What would happen if it is... I'm telling you the truth. You're just denying it. Go into the truth. What is the likelihood you will ever be thinner than this? What's the likelihood you're going to get fatter?
It's good likelihood.
Yes.
I already am getting fatter.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, I could have told you that.
But I'm just still... I mean, it's not like I'm gorging on food. I don't understand. I was shocked that I put on a few pounds.
I'm not shocked at all.
Sure.
You're shocked because you played this game with recovery. So you might want to stop distorting this process into a diet. Face the facts. It's the truth. What you keep on holding to is such a lie. It doesn't exist. It's completely made up bullshit. That's what you're holding on to. It's kind of a joke. You're the loser in the joke. And you keep on thinking that it's real. Okay? So let's go into the freaking look in the mirror. This is what happens. This is what happens. Here's the truth. Look in the mirror. What's the truth say?
I have no control. I've failed.
Your fantasies are a joke.
Yeah, my fantasies are a joke.
They are not real. They don't exist. And you're holding on to them as if they're the only thing that's true. Look at the evidence here. What's the truth say? What's the truth? This isn't going to work out. This isn't meant to be. The whole concept of you being thinner is not in your cards. It doesn't exist. That wasn't your purpose.
Yeah.
You're trying to make it your purpose. It's not your goddamn purpose to be thin. Never has been. Never will be. You're all playing God over there with your narcissism and how's it working out? Are you doing a good job at it? You've been really successful? What's the truth say?
That I've failed.
Yeah, horribly. You might want to stop. I mean, you can keep on failing. You can. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Your evidence is clear in front of you. Maybe you should keep on working hard at it. Right now, what I'm trying to get you to do is look at the truth. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Open them. Breathe it into your lungs. What's the truth? This has been
just that I failed.
Terribly.
I failed
terribly.
I failed and crashed and burned.
It's miserable. You're in hell. You're in a very, very horrible place. The truth is that what you're trying to do has been the most horrible thing for you. And you wouldn't wish this on anybody. So I want to ask you, which is worse? The truth of who you are? The truth of your essence and being? Or what you have? Which one is the lesser shit? Lesser crap. Which one's lesser horrible? Your reality that you're living, trying to make it better than it really is? Or the truth of who you really are?
Well, the truth of who I am, and whoever that is
well, it's inferior,
can't
okay?
be worse.
So let's go into the inferiority of what that is. Which is less horrible? You, in the truth of who you are as an inferior person, or everything you're doing trying to pretend you're not?
The truth.
Yeah, it's less horrible. If you were just inferior, wouldn't that be good news? If you could just go, yeah, I guess I am inferior. What if I am inferior? What if and I can't make myself superior? So because my life ends up being worthless. The reality is you're afraid of being worthless, but what has happened to your life?
Got pretty chaotic. Miserable.
No, it's like you're losing war. You refuse to end it. Why don't you just put your flag up and say, I lost, I failed. Clearly, I can't pretend in my mind anymore that, oh yeah, I can do it. You can't. So what if you actually are inferior? How would that change things for you?
I guess it would end the war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would. How would that change your life?
I would just stop getting back up again, going back into battle, trying to just get,
right? That'd be done. You're over. It's over. That's over. You'd be free from that. Never have to do it again. How would that feel?
It would feel good.
Was that the right truthful answer? Was that the truthful answer that you had first?
Well, that's what I just keep. It's like that. If I could just totally lose that voice, it's just. You looked so good 20 pounds ago. Why could you have gotten this 20 pounds ago?
Because you didn't appreciate 20 pounds ago because it wasn't thin enough. That's hilarious, right?
I know. I'm like...
Because it's never good enough for that belief system. You're never good enough for it. You never will be. That's why. Because that system, it's never good enough. So the idea that you could be 20 pounds less and appreciate it, that's a lie. That doesn't exist. See, do you see what I mean by you keep on thinking these lies are the truth when you have an entire life of relevant here's the results. Here's what happens. Based on the way you think and believe in that idea of superiority, do you really think you're going to feel superior at 20 pounds less than this? That's hilarious, right? What's 20 pounds going to do? Again, you just
be a little less dramatic to carry around.
No, that's hilarious that you just even said that, because no, it's not. It's not. That's a fantasy. There you go. Here comes a fantasy again. Go into reality. What's the likelihood you're going to get down 20 pounds? Even if that were true. What's the likelihood you're ever going to get down 20 pounds?
I mean, if I thought I could, I can't stay around. I can't stay on a diet.
No. What's the likelihood you're going to get down 20 pounds? So why even pretend it exists? I need you to answer that question, and I need you to be truthful to yourself. Just be truthful to you, not to me.
Okay.
What's the likelihood you're going to actually lose 20 pounds? What's the answer?
It's not very likely.
What's the likelihood that you are going to lose 20 pounds?
I'm not going to.
Nuh-uh, you're not. You're not. Mm-mm. So why even have those conversations? You're still living in a fantasy. Face the truth. You will never, ever, 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 ever. You want me to keep on saying it? Be superior. Ever. You have failed. Okay? Put your white flag up. You lost. You lose. Okay? And it's not going to happen. Now what?
I don't know. I literally don't know.
Well, sit in it for a second here. Now what? You will never be thinner than this. And if you try to be, you can guarantee you will be fatter than this.
They're just even wanting it. It's just so inflaming.
Yeah, isn't the wanting of it the core of the problem? That want of it only exists because you think it's possible. So what's the possibility that you're going to actually lose just 20 pounds?
Oh, God. I just want to say maybe someday when I'm all recovered. Maybe.
No, because you're holding on to the wanting of it. So what's the likelihood you're going to lose 20 pounds at any point wanting to lose 20 pounds?
Zero.
Yes, it is zero. Your likelihood of getting down 20 pounds is zero.
When I want to get down 20 pounds.
You will be heavier. You're about to be heavier. Look at your evidence. Have you looked in the mirror yet?
Well, I got on the scale the other day. The evidence is that, in the last few weeks, I've gone up like 4 pounds. 5 pounds. So that's my evidence. And then I didn't feel, I wasn't happy about it, so that's evidence.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
I guess recovery's not working. I'm not supposed to be gaining weight.
Recovery's not. That is so funny. You need to go back to where we're at 1 hour and 4 minutes. You need to re-listen to that because that is hilarious. That's like comedy.
I'm sorry. You said to let the dysfunction stop.
No, it's hilarious, but you can hear it. It's like, You have made recovery a diet.
I feel like if I'm in recovery, I'm not going to gain or lose.
Yeah, you're not in recovery if you want to lose weight from it. That's you basically completely twisted this recovery into not recovery. Yeah.
Or it would just tell me, oh, I'm treating my body okay. Then if it's not gaining weight, that means I'm not feeding it excess, so it has to make excess fat. Like I'm leaving it alone, so it's not having to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I guess I'm still not leaving it alone because I know it doesn't want to put on 4 or 5 pounds in a few weeks, so I'm obviously still fucking up.
Yeah, you're not in recovery right now. You're on a diet. You actually are taking this and expecting it to be a new weight loss program. So.
Oh God, I just thought I was way beyond that.
No, you're not. You're not. Stop thinking that. The evidence is right in front of your face. You're aware. I have wanted to use this to lose weight this whole time, Robin. So.
I can't even defend myself anymore.
No, you need to face the fucking truth. Stop denying it. You're not going to be thinner. You're not going to be thinner. I need you to actually open yourself up to the truth. What is the likelihood that you will be thinner if you want it?
0.
You got it. So you might want to think about surrendering thinness permanently so you can at least be free from having to be, held hostage to thinking about it the rest of your life. If you can't accept it, you will never, ever stop thinking about it.
I mean, that is a little bit tricky in a tricky way, where if you want it, you're never going to have it.
Mm-mm.
But if you don't want it, you don't give a shit, you might get it.
No, I never said that. That's you. That's you distorting your shit. You're never, ever going to be thinner. You're never, ever, 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 ever going to be thinner. You'll never be thinner. You've fucked up your entire endocrine system. The likelihood you'll be thinner is 0. The HCG protocol won't even work for you anymore. You're never going to be thinner. You can go get gastric bypass, and guess what's going to happen? You can go get liposuction. You're going to get fat somewhere else. You need to face what I'm telling you. If you can do that, there's a whole new world out there for you to experience. A whole new way of life for you to experience in this body as it is. It's going to be the same regardless, whether you stay miserable in it or you choose to just accept it for what it is and allow your life to move on from it. It's not going to get better than this. So you can either stay in your life of misery and hell, or you can accept the same exact body and be free. It's your choice. You just need to see the truth and what I'm telling you and stop lying to yourself. I think that it's so relevant that you knew this whole time that you've been lying to yourself, that you really are saying you're recovered and you're not. Because you've known this whole time that you want weight loss from this process. You're aware of that. Why let that have any breath or oxygen anymore? You're not going to be thinner than this. And the truth is there. You haven't been binging and you're heavier. So what's going to happen for you to at least have freedom of your mind and soul? What's the likelihood you're going to be thinner than this, Chrissy?
0.
0. You're right. 0.
Okay, so I'm never going to be thinner than this. I'm never going to have, like, a nice waist. I'm never going to be that girl. So then, what the fuck?
Yeah, you were never that girl in the first place. That's the funny thing. Never. That's an identity. That's like that's the fake identity. It doesn't exist. Never has existed.
It was kind of fun for a while. You put on your jeans and your heels. It was just kind of fun.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like fun to me. I don't know why you pretend that that's fun when it's not. It's called narcissistic self-righteousness. It's very shallow, very self-consumed. It's very disconnected. It doesn't sound fun. Maybe you should stop calling that fun and maybe that's like hell. It's hell. You never really appreciate it anyways. Yeah, you'll never have that again. That goes away too. You're right. You can have your little pity party. And what happens next? Is your life really that worthless? Without that? Is life really all about a skinny little waist? Is that really what life's about?
No.
I mean, you might want to open your mind beyond that. What's really life about? What do you want it to be about? Do you really want life to be about having a thin waist? Is that really what life's about? Is that what this life was intended to be about? My calling was to focus on being as thin as I could and have the thinnest waist, even though my body went the opposite direction the more I focused on it. Is that really what your calling was in this lifetime? Is this it?
No.
Well, clearly that's what you want. That's what you want.
It just made part of my life easier and just lighter. You could just throw on jeans and tennis shoes and
Whoa, hold on. Why are you magnifying that to be way bigger than it really is? Because you know it wasn't. It's not. It's tiny. It's like minuscule. Why don't you start talking about the darkness that created for you? That's actually what you live in. You keep on bringing up these tiny little specks of very conditional moments when in reality you live in hell 24/7. Is this what?
In reality, it was never good enough.
Yeah, tell the goddamn truth. You keep on lying to yourself. I'm just catching you and saying, shut the fuck up. Tell the truth. Stop lying to yourself. Stop. It wasn't great. It wasn't. It was in your head. That was all made up bullshit.
I still had shame and...
Yeah, no. Thank you for telling the truth. Thank you. You're mourning over a shitty life.
Yeah.
So, really, was it that great? You're feeling sorry for yourself because you can't go back to have your shitty, pathetic life. That was horrible. You're feeling sorry for yourself because you don't have to live a shitty life anymore. It wasn't worth grieving over. You don't want it. But yet you're feeling sorry for yourself for not... I don't have to have a skinny waist. Well, you didn't appreciate it when you had it anyway. So why are you glamorizing something that was so bad? You see how you keep on lying to yourself?
Yeah, I do.
That's why you're not moving. You're just lying to yourself. You're not telling the truth. The truth is hurting. It's painful because it means that this is permanently going to be this way. Permanently. Now tell me what happens. You need to see clearly. It will never, ever be different than this. This is it. Is this what you want? You have to do this for yourself. You see what the role I'm playing right now? Why aren't you doing this?
I mean, I thought I was.
No, you're not. I am the one that has to do this. I want to do this. This isn't actually what I was paid to do, to be honest with you. Why aren't you doing this? I don't want to participate in codependent bullshit. You have to start telling yourself the truth. I don't want to be on the other side of the fucking drama triangle as your persecutor calling bullshit all the time. You have to call your own bullshit. It's not true. You've never been happy with your weight, ever. So creating this fucking illusion that you were happy is a joke. Stop lying to yourself. Tell yourself the truth. You're not happy with your body, period, ever, no matter what, because it doesn't meet the thin ideal that you think you want. So the truth of this is you're going to have to let go of the idea that you made up when you were a kid. It was childish. You were a child. That child was so naive when she decided she wanted to be superior in her thinness. Super naive.
Yeah.
And you still think that way. Even though the evidence and your wisdom and your life has shown you the complete opposite outcome. You're still going to hold on to it like a little 10-year-old? You still hold on to it? What does the truth say? Is a thinner waist really making you happy? Like your 10-year-old perspective thought? Is it?
No.
It's not. So why take this process and distort it into a 10-year-old's way of doing it? Face the truth. That's it. That's all you got to do. You're never going to be thinner than this. I hate to break it to you. You're never. So does it make sense to hold on to those ideals?
No.
Should you feel sorry for yourself when those ideals have literally destroyed your life?
No.
Up until this point. So would you hold on to the same idea of what life is supposed to be about? The whole thing is based on thinness. Would you still hold on to that?
No.
Mm-mm. I don't think if you got another chance, you would actually want that thought process. You would never. You would be like, no thanks, I'd rather be fat.
And so this is probably why I am vulnerable to, like, my ego, or because I don't, like, I'm vulnerable because I'm not believing and accepting, so of course it can get to me.
Yeah, well, of course, because you're still in it. You're still, yes, because you still believe the whole concept of superior beings and inferior people from there. And it's attached to thinness, and you want the superiority. So you have to really say, do you really want to be a superior person? If you got another life, would you volunteer for, I want to be a superior person? Would you do that again?
No.
Well, wouldn't you rather say, I'll be inferior. I will just volunteer. I'll be the inferior one.
Yes, I would.
What would that do for you?
I could just relax and enjoy myself.
Yeah, and be truthful. Just be real. You could be real. That's a concept, isn't there? I could be real. What is that? What is that? If I was real, what would I be? I could be truthful. I don't have to perform. I could just let my life be organic. I could be present. I could be in the now. Everybody else who's winning, good for them. All good for you. You're superior. Who cares? They might care. Good for them. They can care.
I mean, it is a leap of faith, just as far as that I will, just to have faith that I'll figure out who I am and it'll be revealed to me, and I don't have to have all that figured out before I...
Well, if you have it figured out beforehand, what's that sound like? Programming?
Just that I'm trying to have some control over it.
A mental construct? And to have control over something, you have to have a concept you're trying to accomplish, so there's bias. What's that sound like? Doesn't sound like very truthful at all, does it? Yeah, so you have to allow the truth to come to you. So when given the question, do you believe in abortion? You can go into your heart and answer the question. You go into your heart. You don't have to go into what you've been told, what your mind says, what's right and wrong. What does God think? You don't have to have any of those concepts.
Yeah.
And then you can go, well, it depends. Well, let me think about that. Is it any of my business? I mean, you could really go into complexity of it. You don't have to have an answer. How's that feel?
It feels good.
So,
not have to... Yeah, to just have natural responses or reactions to things.
Yeah. What's your favorite color? What's your favorite color?
I don't know. I like blue and green.
How'd you know that?
I don't know. I just did, I guess.
It came to you. It shows up. That's what's you're just attracted to that, and it could change too. How do you know that? I don't know. It just changed. Maybe now it's pink. I really like hot pink. That's my color right now. I don't know why. It's none of my business, but it is what it is. I enjoy it. Should I not enjoy that? Should I not enjoy the color pink? Because it's wrong because someone says that's so out? Okay, that's as simple as it is. I am telling you right now, that's as simple as it is, and that's as simple as it stays. I can honestly tell you, every ounce of this video is me doing that. Even to the point where I'm like, fuck you! I'm not your codependent bitch! I didn't know I was going to say that. You need to start doing the work here. It's time. You ready? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I gotta go. I've got a client that I'm now late for.
Okay.
But no, really, it's time. I'm not gonna do this for you. You need to call your own bullshit.
Yeah. Just
face it. Face it. Face it. Face it. You just did this with your boyfriend.
The what?
You need to face it. You just did this with your ex-boyfriend.
Yeah. And I guess I just was like wanting to be done and wanting to be recovered and just...
Yeah, but you want thinness. That's what you wanted.
Yeah.
So you need to tell yourself the truth. You need to be able to call your own bullshit. And then you go into the risks of actually being truthful, which is no one will like me. Yep, no one's going to like you. Wouldn't you rather that? That's so easy.
Yeah.
Again, go back into the life of, I volunteer to be inferior. I volunteer. Isn't that the best job ever? Because now you're free to do what the hell you want. And you can do it naturally, so you don't have to perform better than your actual performance. Everything's driven from the heart. So when you really enjoy something, you do it. And you become good at it because you enjoy it. And you don't do it because you want someone to praise you. You're not doing it for praise. You're doing it because you enjoy it.
Okay, well, I feel like I know where my work is, so thank you.
You're welcome. It's all in love. It's all in love, dearie.
Yeah.
But seriously, as much as this was brutal, what did you expect? You wanted me to go, okay, yeah, well, maybe you can be thin. I think you should try. Okay.